Hey everybody, welcome in, it's Nova here, Rock and Stone. So here today we're going to be talking about the DRG Survivor playtest. Once again, we're going to be talking about the artifacts this time. I'm going to kind of be doing a guide-like format on these, helping you guys out with them. So first off, we're going to talk about the scanners. There's one for gold, one for nitra, and one for XP. These give you a small chance to find that respective resource when you are mining any type of rock. The chance is pretty slim. I have played around with these. I mean, it's small enough. It doesn't have to be like super huge or anything. And it's not like a massive bonus, nor does it need to be either. They're kind of the ones that you start with when you first pick up this game. So they're kind of all you have for the most part. They're not bad. They do have some synergies with other artifacts we're going to talk about later. Like the gold scanner can help if you have like gold-tipped bullets. And like the nitra scanner can help if you've got nitrogenic powder or pickled nitra. The XP scanner is just kind of a generalist. Just get some more XP cubes, that's basically it. Alright, the next one we're going to talk about is the red sugar cube. This one increases your max HP by 5 each time you collect red sugar, which is pretty nifty. Helps with your survivability. If you're able to get this one, if you're lucky and you get this on your first run, or your first stage of the run, this can be really, really useful. Because then you can stack up that HP bonus over the course of the entire game. Potentially getting a good few hundred HP. Pretty nuts. Not too much to this one, other than that, hopefully you get it early. Even if you don't, even if you get this on stage 4 going into stage 5, it's still going to do something. So it's always going to be useful no matter when you get it. Alright, the next one we're going to talk about is the gold-tipped bullets. One I mentioned earlier when talking about the gold scanner. This one increases your damage dealt by 1% for every 5 pieces of gold that you have in your inventory. This one, I think, it's really good on paper, but in practice, I don't know how good it is. It doesn't seem that significant, because you use your gold for a lot of things. You use it in between missions to buy your upgrades. You use it during missions to re-roll if you don't like the upgrades that you see. Those are the two main ways you can spend a lot of your gold, and then you lose your bonus. And some of the upgrades and some of the rerolls are actually really, really helpful. So this one, it's not bad, but it can be difficult to get good value out of it, simply because you need 5 gold pieces for each 1% of damage buff that you get out of this. Alright, moving on to the next one, we've got nitrogenic powder. This is one that can sync pretty well with the nitra scanner if you have it. Even if you don't, it's not a big deal. This one increases your critical chance by 0.5% for each individual piece of nitra that you have. This is already better than gold-tipped bullets. If you've got 5 nitra, your crit chance is increased by 2.5%. Now that doesn't seem like a lot, but it stacks up pretty quick. And crit damage gets you a lot of bonus. And it just works out really, really nicely, especially for the bigger bugs, the elites, the mini elites, and of course, Mr. Big, Mean, and Nasty right at the end, the Dreadnought. The crit damage helps take him down much, much faster. And there's no downside to this one. It's just collect nitra. Alright, the next one we're going to talk about is pickled nitra. I'd argue that this one is absolutely busted. It is my favorite artifact in this game. It increases your base damage by 2% for each piece of nitra you have. Pretty wicked. However, it comes with a movement speed debuff of 0.5% for each piece of nitra you have. Now this only really becomes an issue if you don't have any movement speed upgrades, or you just have an absolute glut of nitra, in which case you're going to get slowed down quite a bit. But the damage bonus you get out of this makes up for the lack of movement speed. I've been able to kill hordes and hordes of bugs in seconds. And if they can't even get to you in the first place, they can't hit you. And if they can't hit you, they can't kill you. So the Pickled Nitra doesn't really have too much of a downside at all. The only slight issue you might run into is, like I mentioned with the lack of movement speed buffs, is getting to the drop pod in time before it leaves. That can be kind of tricky. But you don't need too much movement speed increasing to mitigate this at all. Alright, the next couple we're going to talk about are the Burn and Freeze Shield Belts. These, when an enemy hits you, release a ring of either fire or ice, depending on which one you have, burning nearby enemies for the Burn Belt, and knocking back and slowing enemies for the Freeze Belt. This does have a 30-second cooldown. Now, the cooldown is kind of the crux of the issue with these. I think it's slightly too long. I think it should probably come down a little bit. Not by much, maybe to like 20 or 25 seconds, because sometimes you can end up in an absolute CF of bugs, and it would be nice to be able to trigger it a little bit more often. But as it stands, it's still not bad, though. And the ring is actually a decent size. It's not super huge. Yeah, it's just... the cooldown, I think, is what brings this one down a bit. Alright, the next one we're going to talk about is the BLT Ration Pack. This is another one of my favorites. It's a sandwich! The dwarves talk about sandwiches in Deep Rock quite a bit, and there's many sandwich-like references in it. Well, here we go, friends. In DRG Survivor, you can have a sandwich. The BLT Ration Pack gives you plus 70 maximum HP. That is extremely significant. And you get plus 2% bonus to your life regeneration rate. This does stack with the life regeneration bonus from the upgrades that you get in the main menu in between runs. The life regen can really save you. It has saved me more times than I could count, especially on Hazard Level 3. When you are just trying to run away from the bugs, getting any healing you can, maybe you've used up all your red sugar around the map already. So the life regen and max HP really, really helps with survivability. You can get a lot farther if you've got a lot more HP. Of course, you still need damage, you still need all those other things, but having max HP cannot be overstated. Having more HP, it's always going to help you to have more HP. Alright, the next one we're going to talk about is the Squint EE5. This one increases your critical damage by 30%, or your critical chance by 30%, sorry. Your critical damage bonus by 100%. However, this also cuts down your regular damage by 30%. Now, this one, it's like with the Pickled Nitra. It kind of doesn't have a downside at all in the end, because the critical damage stacks up really, really quick. Especially if you've got other effects like nitrogenic powder, you're pretty much critical hitting constantly, which makes up for the lack of damage, the lack of base damage. And if you've got other things, like the ammo rig, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, and you've got lots of damage upgrades, crit chance, crit bonus damage, that's all stacks up with the Squint EE5. And really, really helps get even more value out of this than you already do. At least the way I see it. Alright, last but certainly not least, we are going to talk about the ammo rig. This one increases your fire rate by 50%, which is quite a bit. Your DPS goes through the roof with this one. However, this also cuts down your movement speed by 15%. Now again, much like with the Pickled Nitra and much like with the Squint EE5, the debuff is there, it's noticeable, but it's not gonna impact you all that much. At least it doesn't usually impact me. Yes, your movement speed getting cut down is a good bit, but again, if the bugs can't get to you to hit you, they can't kill you, much like with the Pickled Nitra. And of course, like with the Pickled Nitra, movement speed increases can offset the debuff of the ammo rig. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this little guide video here, kind of discussing the artifacts. For those of you who have played DRG Survivor, let me know what your favorite artifacts are in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys like in this game, and if there's anything else that you think they might add or they should add for possible artifacts, let me know that too. Catch you guys next time. Rock and Stone.